Ok, parece que todo va bien. Parece que sí.
It looks like.
Okay, great. Well, the problem that I'm going to be presenting in this case is this one. We're in a series of. ¿Se dejó de compartir?
Sí.
Ok. Es que a veces eso pasa. Okay, this is the problem that I'm going to be sharing. ¿Se sigue compartiendo?
Sí.
Okay. Well, this is the problem that I'm going to be sharing this time. The objective is that we have some string and we see and we're going to output the first position of um, of the letter. Let's say the first letter that do not repeat. For example, in this case, which will be the first letter that do not repeat?
L.
Okay, great. Yes, L will be the first letter that do not repeat. In this case, which will be the first letter that will not repeat?
Uh, exactly the same. If you see is L. No. W. No. UB. UB.
Yes, that's correct. UV will be the first one that is not repeated. Uh, and for that we return the position of that. As you can see, this is the L, so we return the position of L. It's V, so we return the position of B. So, well, as I mentioned, this is something related with some series of problems, of easy problems for now, about stacks and queues and heaps. Which will be your approach on this case?
Mm-hmm. Can you repeat the question about this?
What do you think that can be a good algorithm to solve this issue?
To get from output the first letter doesn't repeat.
Yes, correct. More specifically, which of these three do you think that it's a good idea to use as a data structure? The stack, the queue, or the heap?
I think the heap.
Why the heap?
Because it going to take the first different letter.
Well, actually, we can see that the structure that appears over here is the queue. I'm not sure if there's a way that we can use the heap. Um, but well, I'm going to show you my approach using some queue for this part. Okay, well, my first approach will be to have a dictionary of, and I'm going to be look at this. As you can see, I have love lit code.
Yes.
And as you mentioned, the one that we are looking for is the V. So what I think that we can do is use some dictionary. Use some dictionary to basically record if we have already stay in that letter or not. So basically, we're going to be traveling across all these strings until the end, and we're going to see if mm, we're going to see if one of these gets repeated or not.
Okay.
So, well, yes, that will be the approach. Do you know how a dictionary works? For example, in Python?
Not exactly in Python. No, I don't remember.
or do you know what is a hash map, for example?
Uh, no, not exactly. No, but
Okay,
I don't remember now.
okay. Well, the idea of a dictionary is that we can store values, for example. We have a key and we have a value.
Like an array.
No, it's different than an array because in a dictionary, there is no something like an order. There's no something like we can.
Okay.
Mm, in an array, we have positions. For example, we have um, some. Yes, for example, we can iterate. We can specify some positions, but in this case, it's not that. For example, I'm going to show you how it will be my algorithm based on this. So I hope you can understand better. In this case, I the approach is the following. I see that L, that is the letter that I'm currently on, is not in the dictionary. So I'm gonna proceed to add this as the key. This is going to be my key, and this is going to be my value. So I'm going to put this on my. This is going to be a queue. A queue means that everything that I put here first, um, it's going to go out at the end.
Okay.
So yes, basically it's like a queue, like when you are formed for something. I mean, for boy, some cinema tickets or something like that.
Okay.
Just the first who arrives is the first who is get attended.
Okay. No. I get it now.
Okay. So my approach will be this. I'm going to add the position where I can find this letter because the position is what are going to ask us at the end. So this is what I'm going to be basing to return something. So I add this. I pass to the next letter. And if, as you can see, we don't have
Yeah.
any other O, so we can
Oh.
add this as our key, and we can assign something in the value. In this case, true.
Okay.
Um, and I'm going to continue so you can understand. As you can see, the V do not appear.
No.
So as we don't have the V, we can also add this also to the stack. Sorry, to the queue.
Mm-hmm.
However, if we find that there's some repetition, we can identify immediately. If for example, there's some repetition.
Okay.
Well, I'm going to make something, this distinction. Okay. Well, let's say that I have this thing, and this is the way that I can assign, for example, something to a dictionary in Python. For example, I have something like this, and I can say something like false. So this is the way, as you have seen, for example, arrays. In arrays,
Yeah.
you cannot do something like that because you have here some position. I mean, you're expecting some number that is inside some range. But in this case, in the dictionary, that's not the case. You can assign anything basically. So, um, or for example, if you want to get, this is the way to assign, for example, some L,
Mm-hmm.
a value of false. But for example, you can do also some to get information about. For example, if you what do you think will happen in this case, as it is the dictionary, if we print this thing?
You're going to print the L.
No, it's not going to print the L. It's going to print the value.
Oh, well, yeah, but you don't have. Yeah. The value is true.
Oh, yes.
I don't. Yeah. I don't look at the value here before.
Yes, that's correct. It is going to print true. And yes, basically that's how the dictionary works. Other thing that you can, for example, do is, for example, you can do something. I'm going to keep this print so it can be more clear. For example, you can say something like this.
Mm-hmm.
No, wait. Wait me a moment.
If you do like that, you're going to print the values, right? Like L O.
Okay, yes, as you can see, we have something like this. This is going to print some boolean in this case.
Yeah. Nothing you do like that. Yeah, you want to print.
Yes, but okay. Yes, so
Well, if you do
some,
like what you do, it's going to print the value.
just I'm checking because I was thinking this was. See. Yes, okay. Well, I'm going to let pending this part. But well, basically that's something that we can do about the dictionary. So in the dictionary, the order don't matter really. It's for so we have like different purposes when we do this part. But let's keep with this example. For example, we have we assign the E because there is no letter E here, so we proceed. But when we, for example, at the L, arrive to the L, we notice immediately that this already exists. So we're not going to add another L to the Q, and we're going to assign this as false. So in the end, and if you're already following this algorithm, we will end it up that only the values that are unique are going to be true. Values that are not unique or that simply do not exist will be false.
Yeah.
So the algorithm over here will be to DQ, to pop up, to pop left is the method name of this queue. That means that we're going to be taking the element on the back, and we're going to check if, for example, this element that we're seeing, it's true. So we're going to when we find that, for example, this O it's true also in the dictionary, we're gonna
check the
yes that will be our letter, the letter that we are looking for. Okay, so for example, in this case, I take L L it's the first of the queue. But if I go over here, I'm seeing that it's false, for example. But well, I'm gonna end it up so we can be more clear. So we continue with E. E in this case, we
Yeah,
can
don't
see
worry.
that.
I can understand what are you trying to explain.
Okay, okay. So we're going to go a little bit faster. We assign the T, we assign the C, let's O, D, E, and then there we ended up. So we have too many letters, too many characters that are unique in this um, in this string, but
Yeah.
we want just the first one. So to identify which is the first one, um, that's why we need this queue. So we start the queuing. We take this L, it's false, so it's not a good candidate. We take the O, it's it's false also, so it's not a good candidate. We take V, V, it's true, so I don't have to research more. V is my first option, and
Yeah.
that's why I return B. So, does it make sense for you, this algorithm?
You can understand everything. Yeah.
Okay, why do you think that it's necessary some queue? Why, for example, we don't use only the dictionary?
Oh, you're already using, no?
Yes, but I mean, why we use also? Why we have to use two data structures? Why do not use only this one?
Ah, okay. Yeah, I can believe. It's just to check if we have the same string before.
The same what? Sorry.
String,
Okay. Mm,
the same character, the same value. We only want the figures who isn't repeated.
okay. Um, well, the main objective is to know which one was first and which was then.
Yeah.
As I mentioned, the dictionary does not follow any order, so we cannot know which one was the first or which one was then.
Yeah. Without that cue, it's going to be more hard to know.
Yes, it will be harder. It's possible also actually
Yeah.
to not use the queue. For example, we can assign another value over here. We can assign all these things to, for example, over here. No, um, the position, for example, and we can take which is the lower position that is true, but that will be a little bit more inefficient. So that's why we're using a queue.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's proceed with the algorithm and let's see how this works. Okay, this is basically my algorithm. Um, as we can see, we have over here, this is the way that we can, this is a dictionary, sorry, a library that we can use in Python. Um, and as you can see, I have two data structures, a dictionary and a queue. In Python, we can use enumerate to normally the way that we can do this part, if we don't need, for example, the position, we can do something like this. Yes, and this is going to be our character, but as we need the position also,
Yeah.
well, I'm going to put as it will be if it will be like this, but here we have some non-declared variable. But this is the way that we can iterate for every character in this string. So, um, well, this is a little bit, it's not as easy as explained. But this is some way to get something about a dictionary. As I mentioned, some way to get, for example, some information about a dictionary will be something like this, for example. Let's say that I'm going to access the R. But the problem is that if I try to, for example, access this R, I'm going to get, for example, I'm going to well, here's a way that we can personalize what we want in this case. I'm thinking that I'm going to make this experiment on the Colab because I think it will print none, but I'm not sure. I'm gonna be checking for is we say have some dictionary over here, and for example I have in this dictionary okay, so for example if I try to print tick, if I try to print R, I'm going to get an error. Yes, this is how it works, because we're accessing something that do not exist. So what can I do for avoiding errors consulting something that do not exist? Well, I can use this get method. So I can use get, and now I can get R, and I have some default value that it is going to be if this do not exist, if this R do not exist. For example, I can say so as you can see, we have some default value.
Yeah, that is because we don't have.
Yes, exactly. So that's the second method.
Yeah, with the get, you're going to obtain the exact value, but because you don't have an R, you don't get nothing.
Yes, that's true. So here, if we don't have that value, we're going to get some none. And if I get a none, that means that this value do not exist. By the way, this means that I can add that. So I'm going to assign this value to the dictionary, and I'm going to assign also to the queue. But I'm going to assign also the position, not just the character. I'm going to add, as you can see in the presentation, we're going to assign the position and the character. So that's where are we doing here. However, if we have, for example, that it is true, that means that It was before unique, but now there's another character that is repeated. So we're going to say you're no longer unique. There's someone else with you with the same name in the classroom. Um, so that's what is going to happen. Finally, um, as you know, in the end, we're going to
Mhm.
be dequeuing. We're going to be taking out all the elements that we have on the queue, and until the queue will be empty. So
Mhm.
um, in this case, this method of pop left is by taking out the elements of the queue. Um, so I'm gonna be taking the position and the character. So I'm looking for um, okay, yes. You remember this part neither? Well, this part when I was telling you about this method. When I,
Okay.
when I was telling you about this method, what we are doing here, for example, is we are seeing if there is some key that we can use. For example, in this case, what is going to return us? What is going to be printing,
Um,
for example, if we
the
try to
true.
do this? Yes, it is going to print true because there is some v key over here. So that's why we're going to return true. And what will happen if I put something like this? What it will print?
True.
Yes, that's true. And how will if I put something like this?
False. We don't.
Yes.
Their body doesn't fix.
Okay. Yes, that's true. That's um well. So that's why what we are looking here. Um, to see if the character that we are looking for exists on the dictionary, and if it exists, then we can check if
Yeah.
if it is true. And if it is true, this character that we're looking for, then we're going to return the position as described before. How is that for you? Do you like this algorithm?
Yeah. I think it's more complicated. See in the here in the code
Okay.
than it's like if you explain.
Okay. Okay.
For me, okay, it's easier to get where you're trying to explain if you when you show the yeah the presentation.
Okay. Okay. I'm going to make you a question, and this is
The
going to
answer is
be
no,
M.
no, no.
Okay. What would you think will happen? This is very advanced. It's not bad if you get wrong. What do you think will happen if we switch this part? If instead we have just switched it from side to side.
It's going to seem the same. I think for me it's the same.
You we can
But
think we can think that we can think that it is going to be the same, but
yeah,
no.
but I because I don't know Python. For
Okay,
me it's the
okay.
same.
Well, yes, this is something deep about, but not just about Python. I am to many languages. We can see this behavior. I'm going to tell you that this is not just going to not be correct, but it's going to fail. We are going to have some error. and maybe it could be surprising, but let's see. Well, in this case, has not failed. But if I submit, it's going to fail at some point. Oh, okay. So, no. No, actually, no. Corten. Ah, no, no, este.
Corten.
Ah,
You want to smoke or what?
¿Eh?
Where are you saying 14?
A ver, espera. Estoy viendo por qué. ¿Por qué no falló? Ah, sí. Sí, pues sí, sí, es cierto, sí. No, entonces olvídalo, bro. No sé si. A ver, no. No sé si. Esa pregunta la vamos a cortar, sí. Este. Okay. Well, there's another question that I would like to ask you. Why is this? Why is doing this part at the end?
Okay. I'm going to stream. Let me check. Yeah, the answer is right there. If it doesn't exist, return -1.
Yes.
In that way, you can know that word that you're trying to get doesn't exist.
Okay, yes, but why is at the end?
Well, for the reason because in the end is going to check, and therefore if to do to check every word. Next is going to check the else if to check if it's true or false. Then it's going to check the while to do the para hacer la siguiente vuelta y al final va a retornar un -1 si no lo encuentra ya cuando acabó.
Yes, yes, that's true. That's true. It's because in the end, if the queue gets empty and it finally do not get anything, basically means that we don't have unique. We don't have unique characters, so we are going to return a -1 because that's the position that corresponds to
a known character.
A known character, yes. To that there's no position. Okay, well, on my side, I think it's all that I need. What do you think? Do you have some questions?
No, tell me like any question. No, I get it.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you too.
I'm going to stop the record.